Hello and welcome to my channel, Tea with Nikki, and welcome to Goal Power. This is a series looking at how I bullet journal, set goals and generally organise my life here in Northwest London. You can find me on Instagram at hippie_Nikki, and if you're interested in knitting and crochet content, you can check out my podcast Tea and Possibilities, which is also here on this channel. So I've talked a lot over the last few videos about how much I love my bullet journal, how important it is to me to get things done. However, today I want to talk about the importance of having spaces outside of your bullet journal. Now, for a lot of people, their bullet journal is the one and only thing they use. They are really not very precious about it. They're happy to scribble in it and be messy in it, and that is awesome, and I wish I was like that, but I'm not. So it just doesn't quite work for me. I've talked before about how I am a naturally very messy and chaotic person, but that I find that very stressful about myself. So I use organisation and specifically bullet journaling to kind of harness that part of my personality. So I use organisation, particularly the bullet journal system, to counteract that part of my personality and reduce the stress that I have in my life and to help me get things done. Because of that, I like my bullet journal to be a real haven of calm and structure, but sometimes you need to get messy. So in the little zippy pouch that I keep my bullet journal in, I also keep a jotter. This is just a simple Moleskine jotter. I bought a pack of 3 ages ago. I think 2 of them are still blank, so I grabbed one of the blank ones and I keep it in there with my bullet journal, and that is what I use when I need to get messy. So let's take a look at my jotter and how I use it and why I find that really cathartic, and how I then transfer what I do in my Scrappy space jotter into my bullet journal. Here we are back in my bullet journal, and as always it lives in this handy kind of holder pocket. I don't know what we'd call it. So we'll just unzip that. And in here, as you have seen before, we have my current bullet journal. I keep letters and things that I need to hand in here, which is quite handy. But let's move my current bullet journal out and grab my Scrappy space. Now, as I said, this was just a plain moleskin. There's no lines. It's very soft backed, so it's really slim and it just sits inside my holder really easily. So let's take a look at how I've used it. This is a fairly new edition, so there isn't a ton in here, but hopefully you will get the idea. So back in April, I did a brain dump. I just sat on my bed and jotted down everything that I needed to do. And because I did this, I could then go away and break it down into sections. So my environment, creative things I wanted to do, personal, quick wins, other things that I needed to brainstorm or mind map. And this was super useful because it got everything out of my head. It was a space for me to organise. I didn't have to worry about being neat and tidy. And then I could take this and put it into my current bullet journal. And it just really helped me. I loved getting everything out of my head and onto paper. I also use it as my brainstorming space. Here you can see I used it to kind of figure out my rebrand for my channel. I broke it down into things to do, show notes, other videos, series, and just bleh. I literally just threw everything onto the page here. I had a little time, so I was able to kind of use coloured pens and try and make it look a little bit pretty. But ultimately, the reason I did it in here and not in my bullet journal is because it didn't matter if it wasn't pretty. I could then take this information and sieve it down to move into my bullet journal. I then did another quick brainstorm for things I wanted to do in June. Let's not talk about that because most of them didn't happen due to lockdown. I then used it to write down some notes for some YouTube videos that I was watching, and I didn't want to write these just on Scrappy lined paper because I wanted them to hand. This way I've got all the Scrappy information which I can just put with my bullet journal. I know where it is and I know how to get hold of it. When I finish this video series that I've been watching and I've finished writing all my notes, I will probably sieve through it and then put the really pertinent notes into my bullet journal for ease of reference. But I really love working in the Scrappy space and not having to worry about whether it makes sense, how tidy it is. I try to kind of write clearly and neatly in my bullet journal for kind of future reference. But here I don't have to worry about that. I can just brain dump everything out and work just there. Now, as I said, this is a fairly new addition to my organisational system, but I really, really love it. It's going to be really handy for if I just want to get things out of my head and scribble them down and make sense of them later. And that is the safe space to do it in. So I would recommend doing that. So yeah, that is my Scrappy space, and I will probably revisit that when this is a little bit more full so I can talk about how it's helped. Thank you so much for watching and spending some time with me this week. Are you one of the people who use your bullet journal for everything, or like me, do you like to keep your bullet journal a little bit tidy and do all of your Scrappy work outside? But that's it for another week. Take care, and I will see you very soon for another Goal Power. Bye.